MC Laubscher here, the host of the Cashflow Ninja podcast and also the president and chief wealth and investment strategist of Producers Wealth, where we help our clients integrate cash flow banking, also known as infinite banking, with their business and investments. If you're interested in learning more about how we create strategies that integrate cash flow banking and investments to turbocharge them, you can access a video series at yourownbankingsystem.com. That's yourownbankingsystem.com.
Welcome to the Cashflow Ninja, the podcast sharing how to create income streams and manage, multiply, and protect your wealth in the new economy. Here is your host inside the dojo, MC Laubscher.
Hello, Cashflow Ninjas. MC Laubscher here, and welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Ninja. I have a great show for you today, and in today's show, we're going to look at the exploding trend of e-commerce. My guest in this episode is Ezra Firestone, the CEO of Smart Marketer. Ezra has been working in e-commerce for over a decade and is thought by many to be the leading e-commerce expert in the world. He is the owner and operator of several 7- and 8-figure businesses and uses the insight he gains from these businesses to produce his courses.
Are you an investor looking for passive cash flow but don't have the time to explore your options? Discover real estate. It's the best option for passive income that savvy investors have been turning to for years to generate income and build wealth. But the reality is real estate investing takes expertise, market knowledge, and time. So what do you do if you don't have the time or market knowledge? Discover how many business investors have found a way to generate cash flow from real estate investing. Their secret? They partner with proven private real estate investment funds. Four Peaks Capital Partners have created a system that allows accredited investors the opportunity to invest in undervalued assets to generate passive income and capital gains. Invest with the cash flow experts and sit back while Four Peaks does all the work. Call Four Peaks Capital Partners at 877-5-INCOME. That's 877-5-INCOME, or go to privateincomeinvesting.com. An offer to buy or sell securities is only made by a private placement memorandum. Prospective investors must read the PPM in its entirety before making an investment decision.
Ezra, welcome to the show.
Hey, Cashflow Ninjas. I'm happy to be here, man. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, stoked to have you on. This is fantastic to connect. And you and I discussed previously that briefly met at the 10X GrowthCon and saw your just amazing presentation there. So I've been super excited about this.
What an event that thing was. I mean, just the spectacle of it was unlike anything I've ever seen.
The energy. I mean, the energy, and you could probably feel it when you were on stage, right?
Yeah, I mean, God, just that many people all screaming and together. And I don't think I've ever been in a room with that many business owners. It was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, for the Cashflow Ninjas out there, that some of them might be familiar with you, some of them might not be. Could you share a little bit about just a little bit about your background and journey?
Yes. So I think my background and journey is diverse, but as it relates to business, I got started. I kind of came of age as the internet was really taking hold. So 2004, 5, 6, 7, those were my early years in leveraging the internet for marketing and leveraging the internet to grow businesses. And back then, the way that you did it was you had one source of visibility. And that source of visibility was Google, was people typing in search queries on Google. That was kind of, if you had an internet business at that time, the way that you got found. And, if you follow my teachings or if you hang out with, me at all, you'll hear that my viewpoint is that business in general is pretty simple. And it starts with having someone know that you exist, which is traffic, And so back then the traffic source was search engine optimization and Google AdWords. So you could rank organically for different queries that people were typing in on Google, or you could buy advertising on Google AdWords, but it was all search intent. And I started out, actually in a business model similar to this one. So, the model that you have where you're putting out content and engaging with groups of people around how to better their lives by growing businesses. We were doing something similar, except for what the person who I was working for / with at that time, I was like 18, what he did was he sold educational programs and ebooks and video trainings on how to become a life coach. So coaching, I mean, you've heard everyone has a business coach, relationship coach, health coach, life coach. You're familiar with this phenomenon, right, of coaching?
Absolutely.
So it has now penetrated mainstream. We're now 15 years after that time. It's really a mainstream thing. But back then, the idea of being a coach was not really mainstream in the way that it is now. There weren't, health coaches and business coaches. It just wasn't a big thing, And what this guy had was business opportunity trainings. So it was an opportunity like, hey, go through my training and you could start a business. So it's an opportunity becoming a coach, because there's no governing body for coaches. So anyone who has the right kind of training can go out and get clients and become a coach. You don't have to get a certification, or at this time you didn't, and it was a very good training. And I'm just putting that out there as it was. The reason I'm telling you that is it was easy for people to access this. It was an easy step they could take in the direction of doing something of their own, rather than working for someone else. And that was a really interesting and good education. I ended up taking over that business. We grew it to 7 figures. And ultimately, maybe a couple years in, I kind of decided that physical products would be the things that I would be interested in selling, because it was a little more cut and dry than information. You didn't need an influencer. You didn't need someone to be the face of the brand. You didn't actually have to talk with people or coach them, or it was just a little bit more straightforward of a model. Ship someone an item, and there you go. So long story short, I've been online. Actually, long story long, because I've now been talking at you for like 5 minutes. But basically, the point I was trying to make there was that I got started several years, in the early 2000s. I've been full-time online for about a decade now. I lead a team of 70 plus people, and we're all virtual. So I've got employees in a number of different states and a few different countries. And, we do $25-ish million a year selling physical products as well as information products, mostly physical products, and some software as a service. So I kind of have grown up in this industry and seen it morph and change, which gives me a perspective on people who are getting started now or trying to grow their business now. That's been, fun to talk about, and that, it's probably why you're having me on your show. Grant asked me to speak at his event. It was super fun. I love engaging with business owners, about how to better their systems and processes and grow their businesses.
And the education that you provide on it is just super, super powerful. And I just wanted to touch on education before we dive into more of the online space with you. You decided not to join or finish college or go to college at that stage, but actually seeked out to find information and real education and training to empower you to eventually build all of your businesses. What are some of the thoughts that you have on higher education? We've shared how we think the model is so flawed and broken on the show before. Yeah,
I think calling it a choice is giving me too much credit. No school would take me was my problem. I was like a really, really bad student. I just didn't really fit into the system. I had I barely made it out of high school. I got transferred to I didn't make it out. I made it to college, junior college, and I failed out of 3 semesters there because at junior college, they will kick you out if you don't show up enough. There's like an attendance thing. So for me, I just realized that I was interested in women and they were at school, but I feel like you get what you want from people who have it. If you want to learn how to do something like run a business, you find someone like you who's running a business and talk to them about it, right? And the professors at school didn't have, there was nothing for me there. I wasn't called to that path because I was not interested, was not able to do it well. I just wasn't, I always had this viewpoint that the school system was very much like a farming system to get me to work in a cubicle. It's like, here, person, sit in a desk for 8 hours a day so that we can then farm you into a cubicle job where you sit in a cubicle for 8 hours a day. And it just never appealed to me. And so I moved to New York at 18 to play poker for a living. And that was cool. And I did that well. And I played in some underground games. And that's a whole story for another time. But I, at some point, came across the concept of not trading time for money. And, poker is great, but you're up all night, you sleep all day, you're hanging out with a bunch of degenerates, you're under fluorescent lights, and you're trading your direct time for money. And obviously, in our society, chasing wealth creation as a man in particular is a winning model. Basically, most men are in the game of trying to build wealth, right? It's like, and not to say that women aren't as well, because there's obviously tons of women in that game, but it's sold heavily to men that this is the path they should take, is one of building wealth creation. And so when I started to look at the most effective way to do that, I discovered that it was business and setting up systems that work for me. And so for college, it's like, man, what I think it does. So I came out of the time that I would have been coming out of college, I had a 6-figure business already. And all of my friends who went to college were like 6 figures in debt, Obviously, it's a for-profit system. It's designed to put people into debt. If you're going to college for a specific skill, like you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, hey, right on. You still, dentist, you still might not get out of debt because the loans that you have to take on to go down that path, sometimes you can't earn out in that job that you end up getting. But it's like, I think ultimately it plays 2 roles. First role is it sort of gives people the opportunity to get out of their home environment. And most teenagers are looking for any excuse to do that. And the parents are kind of done with them at that time and need a break. So it acts as a way of sort of getting you out into the real world without having you have to take full responsibility for your life. Because, up until the point of 18, your parents are taking responsibility for your life. And so to then just throw you out there and say, hey, you've now got to be a full responsible human, it's kind of a halfway house for becoming an adult, which is cool. But if it puts everyone in debt, nobody comes out with the ability to get a job. It's like, it's a flawed model. And I was not, so I just think that it's tough for most people. And if you're going to do it without trying to go into debt, because I'm not against the idea of let me have a couple years to orient myself before having to go out into the world as a young adult. I mean, I think it's a good concept. I just think that our parents' generation actually were able to get jobs and were able to have 401ks and pensions. And that's just no longer the reality. And so the model has now changed. The internet has changed things.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you mentioned there too, it's the importance of, if you're going someplace, I always say, try and get a high income skill set, learn a skill set that can transfer to the real world where you're going to be able to produce value for others. So to your point, if you're solving medical problems or you're lawyering or you're an engineer or something like that, absolutely. But for the majority of the folks, the importance should be on that high income skill set, which is what you learned by the time your friends graduated college. You had a skill set already, so you were an absolute ninja online to basically create it. And I love how things are kind of going back almost to how they were, because in the old days, if you wanted to become a blacksmith, the
apprentice model,
you found a blacksmith, right? If you want to run a business, you find a business owner, and it's kind of tilting back that way, which is truly exciting to see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess there are your successful college case studies who are very happy with their experience and are not in crazy debt. So
yeah.
But man, with the invention of the internet, the school systems can't keep up with the information, by the way. So the curriculums that you're consuming are outdated if they're not very, very particular to a specific field, Anyways,
right.
I think for most people, it's a bad idea. For some people, it's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you've mentioned that you've been in this online space for a while, and you've been involved with so many models: affiliate marketing, services and consulting, SaaS, e-commerce. You've seen it all, and some of the fundamentals are the same as you've mentioned in previous talks. What are some of the core building blocks and fundamentals for success across these platforms that you've seen?
Yeah, I love this question because there's so many different models that you could have. You could be a local services business. You could sell consulting and services. You could do marketing and implementation for people. You could sell physical products. You could do affiliate marketing where you're selling other people's stuff. You could build software. There's just so many different things that you could sell. My viewpoint is that you pretty much do the same thing. I mean, as someone who has run businesses at scale And I design scale. I define scale as like, $500,000 to $1 million a year minimum. You've got a couple employees, you got processes running, you've got a real business. So I've done most of these models that we're discussing: services, development, consulting, coaching, information publishing, software as a service, physical products. I've done a lot of different models at scale. And I think at the end of the day, you need three things. You need people to know that you exist, which is traffic and visibility. If nobody knows that you have the solution to the problem that they might have, right? If nobody knows about you, you're not going to make any money. You're not going to be successful in business. The second thing that you need is the ability to get them to say yes to what it is that you are offering. So this is like landing page optimization, copywriting, sales funnels, upsells. You need like the ability to convince someone that whatever it is that you have to sell is worth their money is a whole second skill set. So skill set number one is visibility, paid traffic, organic traffic, influencer marketing, affiliate and joint venture arrangements, whatever. However you're generating visibility, press, most people are paying for visibility on Facebook, Google, that's Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Twitter, name some social network, mostly Google and Facebook. That's how most companies that are making it to 7 and 8 figures today are making it, is on the backbone of paid amplification. Some companies have, big affiliate revenue, meaning they have other people who are endorsing their product and sharing their products and services, word of mouth, whatever. So you got to get that together. Then you have to get together the ability to get someone to say yes. So traffic and conversion, they got to say yes to whatever it is you're selling, pull out their credit card, give you money, buy your service. And now here's the part that nobody talks about, but that actually makes a business work. So yes, you need people to know you exist. Yes, you need them to say yes to whatever it is you have to offer. The third thing that you need is repeat business. You need to actually deliver, because people think that the best product wins. It's not true. The best promise wins. People who make the best promises sell the most. It's why you see inferior products winning in the marketplace quite a lot, is because if the product is good enough and the promise is outstanding, you win the business. Because remember, it's step one, get them to know you exist. Step two, get them to buy, i.e. make a really good promise. Step three, have the product deliver. The goal of the product is to deliver on the promise that you made, provide really good service, and get them to buy from you again. So you have to actually deliver value, keep them engaged, and make additional offers that you think they might like. And if you do that third part well, that is the secret to having a business that flourishes and thrives, especially at scale. You look at any business at scale. I'm running an 8-figure business right now. It's going to be between 25 and 50% repeat customers. And you're just not going to make it if you can't make that happen. So you got to actually really be good at all three of those things.
And it ties into the psychology, and you mentioned the card games that you played in New York City, of being able to read and understand people, and also understand their problems better than some of the other marketers that's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that is really just putting yourself in their shoes and thinking about the experience they're having and then describing it. Because the way that you let people know that you have a solution to their problem is you describe the experience that they're having better than someone else. So it's really that. And people say, well, you got to understand the problem. It's like, well, what does that mean? What it means is having the ability to describe the experience that your customer is having or that your prospect is having. So I'll give you a good example from my cosmetics business. My cosmetics business is geared towards women over 50, and everyone in the world is selling them anti-aging products, anti-age, anti-wrinkle, dye your hair brown, get rid of your gray hair, tuck it in, tighten it up, cover up your eyes. So what we do is, just telling them that like aging is bad and they need to fix this problem. We describe to them the experience that they're having, that everyone's telling you that you're wrong and broken and that you need to fix yourself and yada, yada. So like, we understand this experience you're having, and hey, so that gets their attention. And then we have like 5 makeup tips for women over 50. So we're leading with a compelling headline that's like, hey, are you over 50? We've got makeup tips for you. And then we go into, hey, this is what everyone is telling you. And they're like, oh yeah, that's true. And then ultimately we lead into, and we have a solution, which is, how about not thinking age is bad? How about a pro-age cosmetic line? And we sort of lead into our products. But the point is that the point I'm trying to make is that this understanding the customer's problem is the way that translates into reality and into your business is it's not the traffic side, because the traffic side is just buying ads or getting influencers, whatever. It falls under the conversion step, which is the ability to describe the experience they're having written on video, etc., so that they will then buy from you. So that's where that falls.
Now, you've mentioned solving a problem, and some of the other ways that people market is creating an outcome for a potential client or a customer. Now, one of my favorite businesses that you had was the wig business, right? And that's creating an outcome for folks too, especially with the fun colored ones and so forth. What are some of the lessons that you can share regarding how to speak to that audience or that potential customer base?
You mean for people shopping for Halloween wigs?
Yeah.
That business was so simple because it was at a time. You have to understand the difference between contextual traffic and query traffic. So if you subscribe to the viewpoint that the best way to grow a business is to go out there and buy advertising. I mean, look at Grant Cardone. You know how much money that guy spends on advertising? It's I don't know, something like $1 million a month, or I don't know if that's the actual correct figure, so don't quote me on that, but they spend a lot on advertising.
Yeah.
And if you look at all the big businesses, they all subscribe to this idea that the way to grow your business is to pay for amplification. So if you look at that wig business, so for those of you that don't know, I had a costume wig business back in the day that sold Elvis wigs and Afro wigs and mullet wigs and things like that. We were very, very successful with it. We were a top wig retailer in America for a couple of years there, and online. And that business was really simple because it was search, find, buy. So someone would search for an Elvis wig. They would then see my ad or see my organic ranking. I would be ranking on Google for the term Elvis wig. I would have ads for the term Elvis wig. When someone typed that query into Google, they would find it by clicking on it. So it was pretty simple to be found. And then you don't need a whole lot to sell someone when you know their search intent. You have a lot of information about this person because you know what they typed in. And at that time, search traffic was not anywhere near as expensive as it is today. And so all you needed was some fun images, a little description, and an add to cart button. It was really simple. Well, business today has changed a little bit because the problem with search traffic is that it's finite. There's not a whole lot of it. And the little bit that there is very heavily contested over, meaning there's a ton of people running ads for all the good search terms. And so you have to pay a lot, which means a lot of people are running what's known as loss leader marketing on their search traffic. So they're just buying customers and prospects even at a loss just to, dominate the search traffic. And so what really changed internet business was around about 2009/10. And I know Facebook ads probably started in 07, 08, whatever it was. But around about those years, Facebook got really good at what's called contextual advertising. So the difference between query-based advertising that I just described and contextual advertising is contextual advertising does not start with a search keyword. Someone's not going to Google or Bing or Yahoo or Amazon, and Amazon is like the biggest buyer search engine out there. People go in and type in queries of products they want to find and buy. It's one of the reasons why the Amazon business model is the easiest business model to start in today's environment, is because Amazon has half of America shopping on there every month and they're all typing in keywords. So anyways, what contextual traffic is Facebook has thousands of data points on you. They know how old you are, and they know what you buy. They know where you live. They know who your friends are. They know everything about you. They know your gender. They know everything about you. And so what they allow advertisers to do is aggregate this data into what's known as multi-data point contextual targeting. So contextual targeting did exist back in the day with Google, but the problem was that you only had one data point on any given user. You knew the web page they were visiting. If they were visiting a page about cats, you knew that, and you could target them and show them an ad about cats. Well, with the invention of multi-data point contextual targeting, we now have so many more data points on people that we can aggregate them together and get target audiences of people that we believe would be interested in our products and services. Now, What changes here is the approach, because when someone did not start with a search query, when someone did not start with search intent, when you do not yet know exactly what it is they want to buy, you cannot have the first thing that you show them be a sales page. The reason that query-based traffic is so good and so easy and was such a wonderful model while it lasted, I mean, I still use a little bit of it, but not much, is because you can literally just go from search query to sales page. The sales funnel is really simple. With contextual traffic, you can't start with the sales page. You got to start with a video that explains who you are and why what you have to say is important, and engages your prospect with content that adds value to their life and transitions them into the potential of being open to checking out a product you have. And then you can show them a sales page. You can link over to a sales page. Now, I link usually to content, and then the people who consume the content, I then show sales pages to. So I have an intermediary step, but you can't start with, hey, buy my stuff. You have to start with, hey, you're browsing social media or YouTube, like watching cat videos. And I know a little bit about you. Like, I know what you've bought in the past, and I know what gender you are, and I know how old you are, and I know where you live, and I know XYZ. I know you're interested in this. So you being someone who falls into that group, man, I think you would love to watch this video. And then you've got your little video. So it's just a much different model. And it's a better model, in my opinion, because it does not have constraints on scale. Query-based traffic is finite. There's only 300 people a month typing in Elvis wig or whatever. But there's 5 million men between 25 and 45 who have beards, or what I'm saying? Like,
right.
You have a much wider net that you can cast, but your sales funnel has to be a little different.
You're listening to Ezra Firestone on the Cashflow Ninja podcast. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Life settlement investments have allowed financial and banking institutions to not only buy their equity contractually, but also diversify their capital from any economic, market, and geopolitical risk. It's been part of the billion-dollar blueprint followed by institutional investors. And if you're an accredited investor, you can also now participate in this vehicle with enormous growth potential. You can watch an informational webinar presented by one of the premier organizations providing life settlement investments, Penumbra Solutions, at cashflowninja.com/life settlements. Blockchain technologies and cryptocurrencies will not only disrupt money, but every industry on the planet. These new innovations and technologies will affect every area of your life in the future. The cryptocurrency course teaches you everything that you need to know about getting started and profiting with cryptocurrencies, and includes expert training from the top crypto experts in the world. You'll learn how to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrencies, how to safely store your crypto, how to become a sound investor, even if you're just a beginner, and how to apply blockchain technology to your business. You can watch a free crypto masterclass and grab the crypto course at cashflowninja.com/crypto course. You're listening to Ezra Firestone on the Cashflow Ninja podcast, and now back to our interview. Now, e-commerce is a massive trend. For the listeners out there that's listening to it, thinking that this might be too late, they missed the window. Could you share a little bit more information just on this powerful trend and where you see e-commerce going in the next year, 5 years, and 10 years?
Well, I mean, if you just look at the fact that when I got started, about 3% of all transactions happened on the internet. For physical products. So like from the, lampshade that you ordered from Amazon to the bag of chips that you bought from the local store, of all the transactions, only 3% were happening online. So 97% of all physical product transactions were still happening local and in store. Now, in the time that I've been online, that has grown to 8.5%. And if you just think about that, it's still, with as big as e-commerce is, only 8% of the transactions. And it's predicted to double again in the next, several years here. So basically, the opportunity to make sales is going to double. And it's already, and one of the reasons for that is that, when e-commerce started, Gen X, Gen Y, are you Gen X? What generation are you?
Yeah, I would say Gen X.
Okay, so your generation, the generation before you, then the baby boomers, right?
Yep.
All of these people had what's known as a technology adoption curve. They were not 100%. It took a while for them to adopt the technology of the internet, and they had to cross over that gap and actually say, okay, I'm gonna put my credit card in on a website. It was a big deal for a long time. Well, the millennial generation, which is my generation, who is coming into their prime spending years, who is the biggest part of our population in America. There's 84 million millennials, and the next closest is the baby boomers with 80 million baby boomers. So we are the largest part of the demographic, and we are coming into our prime spending years, and we'll be driving the economy over the next decade. And we grew up with internet technology. We are not afraid to spend money online. And so us coming into our prime spending years is is going to push e-commerce forward faster. So it's just continuing to grow. And it's also, in my opinion, and I don't have to get into all the different business models and break them down, the easiest business model to run at scale. If your goal is a 7 or 8 figure business, or 9 figure, like my case, and you want to build that, and you want to do it in such a way that supports you having the most possible time with your family and the most possible, obviously any business is stressful. You have to be kind of crazy to be an entrepreneur, but if you want to, in my opinion, run the most pleasurable business model, it's e-commerce, bar none, far and away. There's nothing that even comes close.
Your business model, I like how you describe it with permaculture, because there's a lot of things involved of how you implement and execute, and you do, and then you teach what you do, and then develop a software as a service to provide that to the marketplace. Can you touch a little bit on that?
Yeah, you can probably tell by listening to me ramble, my viewpoints and ideas are non-traditional, and and there's this concept of permaculture in farming, which is the concept of reusing all of your resources to their greatest benefit. So capture the rainwater and water the garden. Take the chicken shit, use it for the compost. Like, just reuse what is available to you. And for me, I happened to stumble into the industry in information marketing. And what information marketing is it's the act of selling information. And here's what that looks like traditionally. Traditionally, information marketing looks like selling ebooks or video courses or live events where you're teaching people stuff, or coaching and consulting where you're talking to people, about their life or some part of their life, like their business, and using information you have to help them grow. So it's like selling knowledge. And that was my pathway into this industry. And so that was the first model that I saw. And one of the beautiful things about that model is the profit margin. Let me explain. Most businesses have a profit margin problem. They only make 10% profit. Like, if they sell $100 worth of goods at the end of the day, after marketing and the cost of their goods and paying their employees and yada, 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 they make about 10%. $10 on that 100. Well, information marketing, you have a very, very high profit margin because you create the information once and then you sell it over and over and over. And so the point here is that was my first pathway into this business, and is still something that I do today and love that model. But ultimately, I decided that e-commerce would be a better model for me to scale and grow teams and stuff like that. So I started doing e-commerce, and I kind of fell into the role of selling information about online businesses and e-commerce and stuff like that, because I'm charismatic. I like to talk about what I'm doing. I was getting invited to speak on stages. And so I started a blog where I was like talking about what I was doing. It's called smartmarketer.com. I still run it today. And it became very, very popular. And so now, I was focused on doing e-commerce and online marketing and innovating in that direction and having fun doing that and growing businesses. And then I would take everything that was working for me, document it, and share it with my community, and sell courses, and just have another business where I'm being a influencer, I'm being a public figure, I'm engaging with a group of people as my persona, Ezra Firestone, and selling courses. And that's the problem with information publishing traditionally, by the way, is traditionally it's based on a persona, which comes with a host of problems that we can get into in a minute, but still a good model. But anyways, and while I was running my e-commerce businesses, I also ended up doing custom development to have my e-commerce platforms perform the way that I wanted them to. And so then anything that worked, I would open source and sell to other e-commerce business owners. And so basically, I do it, I document it, and then I teach people about it. And then anything that I'm doing on the development side, I sell as software as a service. And then all the money I make from information publishing and from software as a service goes right back into the e-commerce businesses to pump them forward. So it's kind of like this everything flows together, works together model where all of the resource can be reused to its greatest benefit. And I think that no matter what you're doing, you have the opportunity to talk about that, to document that, to share about that, and to have a whole other business where you are literally talking about what you're doing and sharing that with the world and the people that are interested. Because for the most part, if you're doing something cool and something fun in an industry like e-commerce or local business or whatever, there are other people who want to know about that stuff. So I really think that this model is kind of available to anyone who's interested in it. And I just kind of happened to fall into it because I'm familiar with the concept of permaculture, and it was just available to me, and I went for it, you know?
What are some of the issues that you touched on with regarding a persona and having this online personality and that being the face of a brand or a company?
So, you know, people are going to give me pushback on this whole like anti-influencer thing. And I'm not anti-influencer, right? Obviously I run an influencer business, smartmarketer.com, that is led by a persona, me, that is based around me and my content and my life and my story, where I sell courses and all that stuff. It's so much fun. I love it. It's a great business model. However, if the goal is optimizing for wealth creation, if the goal is optimizing for building the biggest possible asset at scale that doesn't take over your life but adds to your life, an influencer-based information publishing brand is not that model. And I will explain to you why. Smart Marketer, you can't sell it. It's based on my persona. It's only as valuable as the next month's revenue. It's not an asset. It's a cash flow business. It's designed to generate revenue that I can then deploy into other areas of my life. You know, Boom by Cindy Joseph is a business I can turn around and sell to someone else for a 5 to 10 multiple of my yearly profit tomorrow. It's an asset. It's a brand. It's not based on a single person's persona. And you know what happened with that coaching business that I told you about that I got into the game with back in 05 or 04? The person who was the influencer behind that brand decided he was burned out and didn't want to do it anymore. And you know what happened? That business went away overnight. So if you're dependent upon a sole entity, you are risking a lot on one person's sort of persona and reputation. If you're going to go the influencer model, have multiple people who represent the brand. It's a much safer model, and it's a much more saleable asset to someone who might be interested in buying the thing. Because what I want is not just businesses that kick off revenue, but I want to invest my time in building assets that get more valuable over time that I can then liquidate someday. Because if you talk about wealth creation, most people who make real money, they make it on the sale of an asset. They don't make it on the cash flow business that they run. That's not where the real wealth comes from. It's a really good model. Ideally, you have both liquidity and capital and cash flow, but you're going to have to sell an asset one day to generate the kind of capital that you're going to want to do big things, you know, that if you're interested in that game. And so I just think that the influencer model is really fun and really awesome. And I highly recommend it to anyone who's interested in it. But you have to understand going in that you're not building out the greatest potential asset, and that you have a cash flow business, not an asset, and that it's only as valuable as you want to keep doing it, right? It's not like after you stop, if I stop creating blog videos, if I stop creating courses, if I stop running events, Smart Marketer ceases to exist. And that's not to say that some people haven't done this model where they have built it out around a bunch of influencers and people who are the educators and stuff like that. Which is a good example. That would be digitalmarketer.com. They have a bunch of people who create content for their blog, a bunch of people who create courses for them, et cetera, et cetera. But you still have a similar issue.
Now, let's get tactical for a minute. Ezra, what are some of the things that you see in the online space tactically, and maybe some platforms or new strategies that are moving the needle right now as we speak? A lot of people have touched on Messenger, for instance, being one of them. What are some of the opportunities that you see out there right now?
You know, Messenger's a really good growing visibility source and source of engagement between a brand and a subscriber. right? You can email them, you can run ads to them, and you can send them Facebook messages, and that's about it. You can't even really send people text messages at this time. I would say still to this day, the thing that you need is a really good sales video that you can run on the internet. Look at Dollar Shave Club, look at Poo-Pourri, look at Purple Mattress, look at any big company who's made it with online marketing. They've made it because they've had a really killer and fun and entertaining and salesy video that introduces customers to their product. So that if you can master that skill of creating really cool, engaging, fun sales videos that you can run like Grant Cardone does, for example. His videos are very compelling and engaging, and he uses them to get your attention and get you into his sales funnel. So that's the number one skill that you need as a business owner. And it's really simple, but it's also hard to do well, and it takes time, energy, effort. But like if you're going to focus on one thing, focus on the ability to create good sales videos, and then focus on the ability to have good sales funnels and landing pages that you can send people to, because anyone can go to the traffic store and buy visibility. You can go to Facebook tomorrow and get as much visibility as you want. So that's not the problem. The problem is not the visibility. The problem is engaging people in a conversation that they're interested in and then selling them on your product. So I think that fundamentally, if you get rid of like Messenger or Facebook ads or YouTube or any of this tactical stuff, the one thing that you've got to get really freaking good at is creating good, compelling sales videos. It makes up for so much. If you're inadequate at tracking, if you're inadequate at upselling and cross-selling, if you're inadequate, you could be inadequate at a lot of things. But if you have a really freaking cool, compelling, engaging, funny, entertaining, informative sales video, you will win in your marketplace. It's like the one skill that you cannot really make it in today's environment without, and it's one that I don't see enough people focusing on. Sure, people make videos, but they're not really there's very few that stand out from the crowd. Go to Kickstarter. Look at the most funded Kickstarter campaigns. That is where you will find good structures for sales videos. They do such a good job. They tell you the story. They tell you the history. They tell you why it solves your problems. They go into a real crazy good demonstration of the product in use. They have customer testimonials. I mean, they just do everything right. So that's a good place to get examples.
Yeah, that's very, very powerful. That's definitely something that I'm spending a lot of time checking out on, because I do get not dragged in, but it pulls you in a really, really good video with a compelling story, and it's very, very entertaining and humorous as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be funny. I mean, funny is one way to go. It's not the only way to go. It's a good way to go. Right. But in any case, I think that I know you asked me for technical and tactical specifics, but I think since this is a wide audience, that is the best piece of advice I could give you right now.
And that's very powerful. Now, one habit I've observed from wealthy and successful people is that they're always studying new subjects and learning new skill sets. What are you currently studying, and what new skill sets are you currently learning?
For me, over the last couple of years, it's been about navigating versus driving. So I think that most entrepreneurs and business owners spend most of their career, or at least the early part of their career, driving. And what that means is you are actually on the road, driving the bus, taking the turns. You are, in the Facebook ads, you're in the sales funnels, you're in, you're just in all of it, And as you grow, you have to develop, or at least I've experienced that you have to develop the skill set to navigate, which is to be up above the road. If you're on the road, you cannot see the mountains that are coming up in the distance. You got to be able to hold the container and direct the ship, which means more knowledge work, more thinking, more reviewing, building up teams of people who can do the driving for you, getting an ads manager in place who can run your ads, getting a platforms person in place who can set up your Facebook pixel and your Google Analytics and your ClickFunnels and your Shopify and your Zipify pages and your GoToWebinar and your email CRM like MailChimp or whatever it is you're using, so that you're not bogged down in the technology, right? So that you can be above that and just, strategizing about hey, we need a sales page. It needs to talk to our email CRM. It needs to be connected to our Facebook pixel. You can understand the process, but you don't actually have to do it. And that becomes the skill set that dictates whether or not you can scale is your ability to get out of driving. And most people have the problem with micromanagement, with control issues, with not letting people, move up into positions of power and into positions of autonomy and authority within the company. And so they end up sabotaging their ability to grow because they're trying to do everything themselves. And I think that's really the skill set for scale, is the skill set of delegation, the skill set of navigating versus driving, the skill set of, not doing your own customer support, not doing your own design, not doing your own development, like really being able to put teams and processes in place and focus your energy on education, knowledge, consumption, figuring out what the strategy is, et cetera.
Now, a core message in our show is to leave our families, communities, and the world better than we found it by passing down a mindset, values, and principles to future generations, not just money. So if you cannot pass on any money to future generations and we're only allowed to pass on 3 principles to them to build wealth and achieve happiness and success, what would they be?
I mean, I like the one we talked about earlier of you get what you want from people who have it, and remembering that, asking for help is a powerful move. It's not a weak move. It's a good thing to do. And that you're always the student, and you may have mastery in one area, but you can always go deeper. You can always learn more. And so staying humble and remembering that the fun is in the acquiring of the knowledge and the learning and the engaging with people who know. So I like that one that we talked about. I think that one thing I would add in to and that I will to my future kids is that success is a very popular but less fulfilling goal than having fun. People who chase success don't necessarily have fun. People who chase fun generally have success because you had a good time. So remembering to enjoy yourself and have a good time and, approach what you're doing with a positive attitude and don't do, not just be miserable. You know how many people who are rich and shackled to their production cycles, shackled to their businesses with those golden shackles, who aren't enjoying it, who are miserable, who are unhappy, who have not focused on intimacy, connection, community, social life, taking care of their body, hobbies. Don't forget to have fun. It's a better goal than success. And if you're having fun and enjoying yourself, you'll find success.
Very, very powerful. And one of the things that I like that you talk about too, Ezra, is serving the world unselfishly and bringing the profit together. Because I think that's one thing that those 2 things are talked about separately, but in combination, it's just so powerful that you share that.
Yeah, serve the world unselfishly and profit is our tagline for our information publishing business, Smart Marketer. And I think that is a description. I don't think that's not a statement you should do this. That's how things work. If you serve unselfishly, that is the only way to profit, and that is how you will profit, because you'll profit from the act of service, which on its own is really fun and fulfilling, and then you'll also profit because you're in a role of service and people will want to pay you for that. So it's more of a description statement.
Very powerful. And one of the things that I've mentioned before we started our interview at the 10X GrowthCon, you were talking about production and the ability to produce value for others. And the more value you produce, the more you become of value to everyone, the community, other businesses, the world, and so on. I still remember pulling out my phone and looking at people around me and saying, these are all producers. These are people I want to serve, and purchasing the domain name Producers Wealth, which is now my wealth creations firm name too. So I just want to thank you for inspiring and triggering ideas within my own personal life and looking at things differently.
Right on. Well, hey man, I really appreciate you having me on the show. And I think that we need more people like you who are out there spreading positivity, spreading messages of hey, you can do this. And look at all these people who are doing cool stuff. And I just think it's a really cool and awesome thing that you do. So keep it up, dude.
Yeah, appreciate you. Ezra, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your journey and your knowledge and providing so much value for my listeners. Where can my listeners learn more about you, all of your companies? Where can they follow you? And where can they stay involved with all of the projects that you're involved with?
You can go to, thank you for letting me pitch, smartmarketer.com. It's just like it sounds, smartmarketer.com. It's my personal blog. I talk about what I'm doing in business. And if you go and get on the email list there, you'll hear about all my stuff. And if you visit that website, you will never hear the end of my retargeting ads, where I'll follow you around on Facebook and tell you about all the stuff I'm doing. So, and they'll be good ads. You'll want to see the ads. They won't be bad ads. But just so you know, once you visit my site, you're going to see my ads too. So that's part of my strategy, is anyone who comes to my site, I retarget with content and all that.
Fantastic. Thanks again, Ezra.
Thank you.
Are you having a hard time finding great investment properties? Unfortunately, the best deals are rarely found locally. Successful investing begins with the right properties in the right markets. Norada Real Estate provides everything you need to invest in the best deals across the United States. Our simple, proven system will help you create real wealth and passive monthly cash flow. Learn how to find the best deals by downloading your free copy of The Ultimate Guide to Passive Real Estate Investing at noradarealestate.com. That's NORADA realestate.com.
Thank you for joining me again on the Cashflow Ninja. Thank you for all your support. You rock. If you like what you hear and appreciate what we're trying to build here at the Cashflow Ninja, please subscribe, rate, and review our show on iTunes, and share our show with family, friends, and your network. If you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, you can sign up for our newsletter at cashflowninja.com or text Cashflow Ninja to 44222. I'm also posting daily videos on Facebook and YouTube, and will live stream weekly starting May 2018. To make sure you don't miss any of the live streams, please like and subscribe to my Facebook and YouTube platforms. I'm also dropping content on Instagram daily. Be sure to follow us on Instagram to get in on the action. I want to thank you for spending your most precious resource with me today, your time. That's our show for today. Until next time, live a life of passion and purpose on your terms. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. The information being presented and considered does not consider your particular financial objectives or situation, and it does not make personalized recommendations. This material is not intended to replace the advice of a qualified tax and legal advisor or other qualified professionals, and you should not use the information in place of a customized consultation with a licensed professional regarding your specific personal financial objectives, situation, and needs. We believe the information provided is reliable, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, timeliness, or completeness.